Redditors who lost a romantic partner to an illness, suicide, or accident. What was your first relationship after their death like? Wishing you peace in the future op. Never had one since. I loved her and only her. 6 months after she died I met the most incredible person I have ever met. It was literally love at first sight and has never ended. She was also widowed. We are the same age. And we both had no children. We got married 10 months after we met and have been married over 3 years. We are as in love today as we ever were and have a pretty perfect relationship. Or as close to it as humanly possible. I took a lot of shit for meeting and marrying someone so soon. But honestly, as cheesy as it sounds, you can't help who you love, and when you love them, it just is what it is. I've lost two, sadly. The first was when I was 18. She was hit by a car. The first relationship was odd, but I was young and managed to bounce back. The second was a little different. I was dating this girl 2 years ago and we decided to be friends due to the distance factor. We remained friends right up until the end. She succumbed to an infection during surgery. I currently have a partner and had one when she passed away. I felt devastated that she was gone and guilty because I felt devastated. Since I have a partner now, it's a strange combination. Advice for anyone who goes through this. Coming from a guy with a double whammy. Just because one life ceases to be doesn't mean another has to. Carry on. Be happy and take your memories of them with you, because you owe them that much. My high school sweetheart killed herself. She called me part way through because she didn't realize pills would hurt so much. That was, yeah. My first relationship after that was almost entirely about sex and we both knew it. She was kinky. I was receptive and curious. Thinking back on it, I think it did me a lot of good. I didn't have to open up too much and I could, at least in one context, be in control. I had a safe way to make sure it wouldn't happen again. My ex-fiancée did not pass away, but she vanished by choice with no warning, explanation, or obvious reason. She just up and left one day, and closed all means of communication without ever saying goodbye. I was ghosted after 3 years living together, and 2 years engaged. For me, there was no objective difference between that and her death, except made worse by the fact that all I knew was that she chose to be apart from me out of her free will. In short, it left me broken inside for a very long time. And even now I'm still healing. 2 years later, I am 1 year into my first relationship after that breakup, and I am trying to take it slow. My Noosa is patient and accepting, and knows about what happened to me, but I'm more fearful, clingy, and less generous than I used to be. I worry sometimes that my lingering abandonment fears and insecurities will one day push her away. The way I feel love now is also changed. Love doesn't come as naturally anymore. It is more of a conscious choice and continued effort to cultivate good memories and build something together. In one way, that is more real since it's something we work on every day. But I still feel sad inside that I can't seem to recapture the passion of my first love and how easy it was to give my body and soul to someone else. I'm 53, and my wife passed from pancreatic cancer in July. Even though she told me she wanted me to remarry, I just can't see it happening. My wife said the same, but it just seems impossible at the moment. Hope you're coping well and sorry for your loss. There wasn't, and hasn't been. I prefer it this way. I hope you know that will always be okay. My grandma is 82 and lost her husband in a car accident when she was in her late 20s. She has never dated anyone since and has lived a wonderful life. And strangely, his memory has been a big part of my life as well. I'd give my life to bring her back. Watching the drunk who hit us choke to death on his own blood is the closest thing I've known to peace. Amazing. Lost my husband when I was 21 with a 3-week-old preemie. I was worried I'd go BK to dating the type of guys I dated in high school. I was lonely. Can't even describe the loneliness. Most painful experience of my life by far. I missed touching him, talking to him, loving him and vice versa. Like heartache so bad makes you sick to your stomach. I still do almost 16 years later. Wish he was here every day, especially for my daughter. I was single for almost a year. I thought long and hard what I wanted in someone. for both my daughter and I. My current husband has been there since her first birthday. He has raised her as his own. Never ever once has she been my daughter. He lets me talk about my husband. He has never been threatened by my love for my first husband. Honestly, we spend more time with my first husband's family. They love him like family. We sometimes stop to see them without my daughter with us. I know my first husband would be happy for us. My husband has asked me to tell him he's the best husband ever, then immediately apologized for being disrespectful to my first husband. 10 out of 10, he's an amazing man. My so when I was 20 died in a motorcycle accident. The first relationship I had after that sucked. I had and still have pretty severe abandonment issues, and my boyfriend after him could not handle that. He cheated a couple of times, then broke up with me and ended up getting married about a year later. It took me a while to get over. However, I am about to get married to someone who recognizes my issues and knows how to deal with them. I realized that I need to be open and honest about how I'm feeling and that communication is key. I had a boyfriend who died in a car accident. I started dating the next guy about 6 months after. It was way too soon, but I was young and in a really bad place mentally, and he was incredibly manipulative and would use that fact to his advantage. He convinced me that I needed him in my life in order to heal, and he was the only one who truly cared or could help me. He was very abusive in all ways imaginable, and it took me moving 1,600 miles away to a place only accessible by boat to finally get away from him. Moving 1,600 miles away to a place only accessible by boat. My dear boyfriend passed away in an accident 2 years ago, and I haven't dated since. I am trying to emotionally fix myself first before I date again. And at this point I think I would still be comparing the new person to him, which is unfair. Let's see. I lost him 5 years ago, and every day is hard without him. Dating wasn't easy at first. I was very shut off from any type of romance. I waited about 4 years before I started dating. I met this guy, who seemed so nice. Long story short, after a few months, he tried to emotionally abuse and manipulate me. I saw the signs and ended things. He didn't like that. He wanted to be the one in charge and started stalking me. But I stayed strong and finally got away from him. I thank my deceased so for me being strong in dealing with that. I feel that if I had started dating any sooner, I wouldn't have been strong enough to see those red flags. I knew the moment I met him that he was it. That feeling was a once in a lifetime, and I'll never feel it again. I am dating someone new. He seems nice and things are going well, so I'm gonna give it a shot. Wish me luck. My husband took his own life 2 years ago. We had 12 happy years. I never expected to find anyone else and wasn't looking, but a handsome, smart, kind Canadian guy is my boyfriend now, and although we are working out differences in culture and age, he is 30 and I am a lot older. It is wonderful. Just taking things slowly. My first relationship after. I was super clingy at first. Would also tell him how much I loved him. Got engaged within 6 months, didn't get married. Did as much as I could to distract myself from negative thoughts. Then I started to get angry. Tell him that he just wants to leave me anyway and question why he would love me. After 3 years, we kind of fell apart and tried an open relationship. He did stuff I didn't, and it drove us apart. We broke up after 4 years. Relationships after that, those two. I always kept a wall up and even still have a wall up more than 15 years after losing my first boyfriend to a car accident. I try to protect myself in case something happens and have become annoying independent. It makes for a very lonely relationship because I just feel like I can't really give 100%, else I'll get destroyed. After some time has passed, I do feel like everyone leaves eventually, whether it's death or people just changing, and that's how I approach my life. Very few people get close. Ex died of an overdose. I was pretty devastated because we were on and off. I always figured we'd get back together. My next relationship, BF, was really understanding and was okay with the fact that I had pictures up of my ex. We actually had a mutual friend that knew my ex. That relationship was based off partying, so I don't think I've ever dealt with the feelings. I just needed someone there to comfort me, and I was choosing to deal with it unhealthily. Drugs, alcohol. I would basically just ramble about how much I missed him, do more drugs, and that was basically the cycle for a year. A lot better now though. I lost an amazing man to suicide. It was a few years before I felt comfortable even dating. When I finally did, it was a huge challenge for me to not compare them to the one I lost. And there were a lot of good guys I dropped because they just weren't him. I'm married now and my husband is actually very different from my late partner, which has been a contrast but in a very beautiful way. It's nice to be able to recognize that I moved past trying to replace him or find his match and instead find someone for who they are. Bunch of bad ones because I had trouble committing to something that I knew to be impermanent. It was my fault and I know that past wouldn't have wanted me to be like that. But I was mean to nice women, distant to ladies that wanted more. I missed out on a lot and I regret not being more vulnerable. Wife passed recently. I wasn't looking to date. Or maybe I was. I put up a profile on a dating site, then disabled or enabled it 10 times before just changing it to say I am not really ready to date and just want friends, then promptly ignored it. A week or so later someone messaged me who seemed genuinely wanting to talk and not just looking for a hookup. Messaged back and forth for a week before meeting. I think this may be my first friends with benefits situation. She has made it clear we are not a couple, yet we message each other or talk pretty much every morning, every evening after work and before bed. No L word used or anything like that though. I am happy with this for now. I still miss my wife. I think I always will. She would have wanted me to be happy. I don't feel guilty. I tell myself that every successful marriage ends with one spouse watching and caring for the other spouse as they die. It hurts still. I still have all my wife's stuff. I am not ready to do anything with it yet. I know I am not ready for a serious relationship. I took my abusive ex back. She proceeded to destroy me emotionally, with, among other things, threatening to kill herself if we broke up again, threatening to tell the cops that I raped her if we broke up, and made me promise almost every other day that I loved her more than my now dead ex. Because I love that bitch more than you love me.